Alright, Beep, let's do this. First thing first, the name LUI. Secondly, the game. It is the game of bodybuilding. Thirdly, the name of this gentleman, Eddie Robinson. A blast from the past. Back in 87 or 88, he won the NPC versus Sean Ray, for that matter. And he used to be considered a giant, a strong man in his own right. I mean, he blasted through the IFBB for about 13 years. As a matter of fact, he had the longest contract with Weeder, if I'm not mistaken, for 13 years in a row. A record that has never been beaten until today, of course. He has a background in power lifting, several records, and also in arm wrestling. As a matter of fact, I think Guinness World Record, he has him as, you know, a special character in a sense. He has records in powerlifting, in arm wrestling, and also in bodybuilding, which is never seen until today. At first, he was strong in the lower body parts, the legs. If I do recall, his legs were almost as thick as his waist, which was kind of unseen back then. Needless to say that the waists right now are just too big. As I said, Joe Weeder, as a matter of fact, contacted him, telling him, bro, why don't you switch to bodybuilding? Let's try you, in a sense. And indeed, he made the transition to bodybuilding. So he has built up his upper body accordingly. And he won the NPC just like that. And then he signed the contract with Joe Weeder, as I mentioned, for about 13 years, if I'm not mistaken. He was thick. I mean, his weight is not that impressive by today's standards. Could you guess? Only 225. 225, which is pretty much only 5 pounds heavier than Sean Ray. Both have the same height, I think 5'7". But although he looked just thicker, he was the original mass monster of the late 80s and early 90s, baby please. An absolute sight to be seen. He was huge. When Ronnie Coleman, you can see him in the background, did not even lift. He was thick. He was solid, and you know, he stayed healthy until today. I think he has a trainer right now down in Florida. So he is definitely a sight to be seen. He was also he has countless magazine covers for the fact that he was promoted by the Weeders. He was somehow the face of bodybuilding in the late 80s, guys. This is why I wanted him. I want you guys to remember him if you forgot about him. He had pretty much the craziest legs of his era. I mean, when he was standing even next to Lee Haney, he showed that Lee Haney somehow was getting off. As a matter of fact, Lee Haney, admittedly or arguably, some say, lost his last Mr. Olympia to Dorian Yates because of the legs. The legs came back very, very strong in the early 90s, and today they're just monstrous. You can see him here with Flex Wheeler, what used to be called Ken Wheeler here, and Aaron Becker. I think this was prior to the days of IFBB of Mr. Flex. This is why they call him Flex, actually. He is flexible. He has a background in karate and martial arts. Nothing to do with the story in 1997 of ninjas supposedly attacking him. Aaron Becker, highly underrated. Right, extremely underrated. One of the craziest backs ever, crazy triceps. He was a sight to be seen back then. To be noted, a lot of people don't know this, but Flex Wheeler actually, after his notorious wins, especially in 92 and 93, he used to roll actually with the crew of Dr. Dre in the West Coast, right? So he was chilling with these guys, and some say that was the reason of his demise, because in 94 he had a severe car accident in a brand new Mercedes Benz. I think the model used to be nicknamed back then the Phantom, right? So he wrecked his car. And Flex Wheeler, actually, when he went to the emergency, actually, when he was rushed to the ER, the doctors actually had to reset completely, the X-ray machine to see bones through his back. His back was so muscular and so thick, they had to rearrange completely the x-ray. Of course, he had, I think, an injury in his neck, and it was very detrimental for his career. Admittedly, in my opinion, he never regained the shape of 93. Some say he was good in 97. I'm sorry, 93 was his best year, and it was just one shot. I mean, it was a one-shot deal, and then we never seen that shape again. So cheating with Dr. Dre is not to be saluted. So that was the little story about Flex Jr. But proceed about Mr. Eddie, please. As I said, his legs were absolutely crazy. If I'm not mistaken, I do recall that that magazine article. They said his legs were like 81 centimeters, 0.5, whereas his waist was 83 centimeters, if I'm not mistaken, right? And crazy arms development, just perfect. I'm not gonna say hugely underrated. Dude was, one of the, one of the honeys and the protege of readers. His back was not that loyal. That's why most pictures are from the front. From the front, he was thick. He was looking like $1,000,000. The back, though, was not that loyal. So that's what's up, guys. A little video, as a matter of fact, just a blast from the past to remind you of Mr. Eddie Robinson. Videos about him on YouTube are kind of scarce, so I wanted to put him on the map. Absolutely to be saluted. And finally, let's take a look at the back. I mentioned was good, but he was in between the eras of Lee Haney and Dorian Yates, so the back makes you or breaks you. Absolutely saluted to Mr. Eddie Robinson. Don't forget to like the video and tell me if you guys remember this dude.